I wanted to begin this morning by bringing your attention, if you hadn't already seen it, to a statement that Roger Berliner and I have released. And what we're saying is that we really need to address these transit issues step by step. The most important issue facing us in the near term is whether we will have a purple line. That project has the most questions already answered. We know what it will cost, we know where it will go, we know where the financing will come from. It's highly likely to be approved by the federal government. And so I did have some concerns about getting ahead of ourselves on this transit authority discussion because it was confusing to people. And the last individuals who we wish to confuse are the governor and the secretary of transportation. We don't want them to be confused. We want them to approve the purple line. And once we know that we're proceeding with the purple line, which I am hopeful and optimistic that we will, then we can immediately convene a discussion of the Corridor Cities Transitway, which we understand where that will run. We understand how much that will cost. We don't entirely know how it will be paid for. And that'll be a dialogue we'll need to have with the state government. But first, we need to address the purple line. So we're just saying one step at a time. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Our transit needs are real. The suggestion that we should not invest in transit because a relatively small percentage of people use transit neglects the fact that all drivers benefit when a relatively small percentage of people take transit. Indeed, if we could reduce automobile use by 10 to 15% above where it is today, that would be an enormous benefit to drivers. So everybody benefits from transit users, even if individuals choose to stay in their cars. There are a few other cars on the road because of the people using transit. So I think the statement speaks for itself. We will get to costing out and a better understanding of a financing mechanism for rapid transit. Rapid transit has great promise. I think it's integral to the success, particularly of the White Oak Science Gateway. I don't think we will have thriving commercial development in White Oak without some new approach to transit along the Route 29 corridor, but we don't know how that will be paid for, and that's going to take some time. We don't want to frighten people. We don't want to anger people. And I will tell you this, I think the public hearing that was held in this building Friday night clearly influenced the county executive's thinking. So if you're ever wondering whether public hearings matter, I think Friday night's hearing certainly did. So I just wanted to begin with that, and I'll take questions on that or anything else you have on your minds.
Talk about the rollout of this. Was this just totally, you mentioned that you didn't want to mislead the governor and the secretary of transportation. It also seemed like there were a lot of residents who were also completely caught off guard by this proposal.
I think my friend, the county executive, had the best of intentions. I think he's correct when he says that improving mobility is vital to economic development. He did mention the Transit Authority in his inaugural speech, and so I think, to be fair to him, I think he wanted to show prompt action on the priorities that he articulated in his inaugural speech. In hindsight, his inaugural speech addressed his priorities for 4 years of this term, and I think we will get to an in-depth discussion of how transit will be financed, but I think we were getting ahead of ourselves.
If Governor Hogan's decision is not to proceed, not to kill it, but to, study it, put it in turnaround somehow, what does that do to your strategy? Do you just move on to the Corridor City Transitway, or do you find another way to finance Purple Line, or what?
First of all, a lingering inattention to the Purple Line will cause the concessionaires to lose interest. So the responses to the RFP are due in March. If the concessionaires don't get a response from the state within a reasonable period of time, they'll move on to other priorities. They've committed a great deal of money of their own, and they're lining up capital. They have to show, as part of their response to the RFP, that they have the financial wherewithal to raise hundreds of millions of dollars. So it isn't, and I know that Governor Hogan understands this. You can't just let the private sector linger in limbo. I mean, we really do need to know whether there's a project or not.
So in your letter this morning that you and Councilman Berliner put out, you not necessarily asking for anything specific as far as no transit authority. You just say that this is a step-by-step, that this should be discussed in years after the Purple Line is put together? I mean, so there's still a possibility of some sort of authority, maybe in next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, something like that?
Well, we don't need a transit authority for the Purple Line. The financing is identified for the Purple Line, and it's highly likely to be approved by the federal government. I don't think we need a transit authority for the Corridor Cities Transitway because it has been the state of Maryland that has been in the lead on that project, and we would anticipate that that would continue. But we're very open to working with the state to identify local funding sources, including special taxing authority. But you don't require a transit authority to set up a special tax district. We have special tax districts now, parking lot districts and others. So I don't think a transit authority is necessary for either of the first two projects for which the most planning and design has been done, and the first of which, the Purple Line, is scheduled to go to construction in 2015. Rapid transit vehicles are a longer-term proposition. It holds great promise. We're very interested in them, but we honestly don't know how much they will cost. And I have always believed that it's very difficult to sell people on how something will be paid for until you can tell them how much it will cost. We don't know that yet.
And again, in withdrawing this, has the executive indicated to you that this session, this is absolutely dead, or that he will refine it and try and collaborate before the session is over to resubmit?
This has been a rapidly developing story. So I spoke with the county executive a couple of times this weekend, but this memo I learned about this morning. It would appear that we will not be talking about the Transit Authority much more in the 2015 General Assembly session. But I get that from this memo, that his own thinking, you should address with him. But clearly it's been evolving rapidly.
What can you tell us about the latest with the superintendent? We're supposed to hear something tomorrow. What have you heard? Anything new over the weekend?
I don't know more than you know. I don't know what happened over the weekend. I really don't know.
Do you have concerns about how this appears to the governor, to Annapolis, in terms of where Montgomery County is? I mean, the schools very much are that, jewel in the crown here in the county. And people don't like not knowing what's next, what's happening.
I think it's in everybody's interest that the matter is resolved promptly.
How will you be notified? How does that work?
Well, I listen carefully to WMU and WTOP, and I read the Washington Post. And of course, Montgomery Community Media is really a superb source of information, covers a lot of things that the others don't. I've been delighted to have been kept pretty well informed. I'm getting phone calls from. I am in touch with the school board. But I wasn't in touch with the school board over the weekend, so I don't know what happened over the weekend.
And you have not talked to Dr. Starr?
Not in the last few days.
As a parent, do you have feelings about his performance here in the county, how he's done for the schools?
It's not for me to assess his performance, and I'm not going to do that.
George, what do you make of the story this morning about the communications issues in the Metro tunnel in Montgomery?
I think Metro has a great deal to answer for. And we've, our statement did not address Metro, and, we need to think about that, but that's a state issue as well. It's going to cost money to solve these problems, and the interoperability problems are very serious. I'm very pleased that our congressional delegation in Virginia and Maryland and DC have taken this matter so seriously. It deserves the very highest level of attention. We can't have people feeling like Metro is not safe.
Last week,
Since Senator Mikulski's staff is here, I should call out Senator Mikulski in particular, because she's been really vigilant on behalf of Marylanders, calling for safety throughout. And knowing her as well as I do, I know that she cannot be happy with the failure to provide a real working safety plan. She's been calling for it for a decade.
Last week, Assistant Chief Goldstein briefed one of the council committees here on the communications. It was a very different picture from the one reported in the Post. Has anyone gotten back to him and said, why does one look so different from the other?
I can't answer that. It's a good question.
Is this a topic you think the council will be addressing?
Our Transportation and Infrastructure, Energy and Environment Committee has been and will continue to address it. I don't have any plans right now to bring it up before the full council. I think it's well situated in the Transportation Committee.
And also as a parent down, with children in the schools downstairs are doing the hearing right now on the updates, the recommendations about changing the screening to try to catch, people have crimes and all that would be hired by the school system. What do you want to see? What sorts of things, have you read, have you read the report? What's your reaction to it?
I'm sorry that the school system seems to be reacting to pressure from the county council. I wish the school system had been more proactive on this years ago. And I think there is a role for county council oversight. I mean, if you ever want to know, is the school system in its own solar system completely impervious to oversight? I think when the county council starts asking questions, the school system starts providing answers. So I think we do have a role to play in oversight of the school system, and I think Chairman Rice is doing an excellent job today.
Downstairs you have Chief Manger, his assistant chief, state's attorney's point person on child abuse and neglect cases. Dr. Starr is not there. Does that concern you?
Yes.
Do you want to elaborate?
For the public, yeah.
I think it's desirable that the superintendent be present to answer these questions.
They say they take these issues very seriously. Do you feel that they have historically?
I think they are, I think they had not been sufficiently proactive on this issue. And I think they're responding to questions from the county council, which again underscores that the county council has an important oversight role to play, now and in the future.
Do we know why Dr. Starr isn't there?
I do not.
today?
I don't know the reason.
The measles have been making national news. I wanted to find out, I was watching the Today Show this morning, the president was asked, do you think everyone should be vaccinated for the measles, and have you gotten any updates? I know you, the Health and Human Services Committee you chair here in Montgomery County. Have we had any reports?
That's a great suggestion, and I think we should do that. I think, yes, I think families universally should be vaccinated. There is any suggestion that vaccination itself is harmful is spurious. It's not good science. And as we're seeing with the Disneyland events, families that aren't vaccinated pose a risk to other families. So I actually had communication recently with the school system on this matter because I would like to understand in some depth what its policy is, how, what does it take before a family may opt out of being vaccinated. I don't know the answer to that question. I was told over the weekend by Dr. Zuckerman that I'd have an answer to that question soon.
And the homeless, I know they were out counting the homeless in Montgomery County.
Right.
Have you gotten the numbers?
No, we won't have those for a few weeks. We're consolidating those numbers. I participated in the count on Thursday morning.
What were your initial impressions and observations? Did you see more homeless than last year?
I did not see more. It's a funny thing because, we recruit a lot of volunteers, and the volunteers want to engage with the clients, and then the volunteers are sometimes disappointed if they don't get the chance to engage with clients, but that's actually a good thing. If you don't find homeless people out in the cold, that's a good thing. You don't want to find homeless people out in the cold. The count takes place over a night, and so there's the sheltered homeless count, which was Wednesday night, and I don't have those numbers yet. We'll review those, with great care, and then throughout the region, the Council of Governments will assemble the report for Maryland and Virginia and DC here in the DC region. But I actually personally interacted with more clients in 2014's count than in 2015's count, which I hope is an encouraging sign, but it's just an anecdotal report. I can't tell you, and I don't know the sheltered numbers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When you get those reports, will they be able to tell you more about the demographics, who these people are, how they come to be in this situation?
Yeah, the survey asks background
And how
about
soon will we
age
see
and
that?
length of time homeless and medical condition, and so we should have it. I can't give you the date. That's up to the Department of Health and Human Services within a month. They have to compile from a variety of different sources throughout the county.
Is there any link or connection to homelessness and the folks we find along some of the roadways panhandling? It's still an issue on Old Georgetown Road, Connecticut Avenue,
Right.
et cetera.
Right. So not all homeless clients panhandle. Not all panhandlers are homeless. Some panhandlers who say they are homeless are not homeless, which is part of the reason why the point-in-time count occurs so early in the morning. Because if you find a client in the woods or on a bus stop at 4 a.m. Or 4:30, that individual doesn't have any place else to go. When you see someone at 11 o'clock in the morning saying, "I'm homeless, give me cash," you don't know. Montgomery County discourages panhandling. We discourage it by the clients. We discourage individuals from giving to panhandlers. It is not a wise way to spend your money. We encourage people to give money directly to service providers like Interfaith Works or the Montgomery County Coalition for the Homeless that are working with these clients every day. You will know that your money is going to help people in need. When you give money to a beggar, you don't know how that individual is using the money, and you just don't have any information about it. County Executive Leggett and I, in the fall of 2013, launched a public relations effort to work with the public to dissuade giving to panhandlers. I don't have any evidence that that's been successful. The amount of money raised has been paltry. We set up, it's still in effect. You can text the word share to the phone number 80077. The point was not to raise a lot of money. The point was to give people an alternative to give to charity, which we want Montgomery County residents to give generously, but we discourage Montgomery County residents from giving directly to panhandlers. But I haven't seen any evidence that that conversation with the public has reduced the folks standing in intersections. I don't have any evidence that it has been successful, and I don't think any community has successfully solved that problem.
Was the county money in that PSA campaign at all?
Minimal. I mean, it doesn't cost very much. The Public Information Office could tell you the cost, but it was de minimis.
Any strong feelings about the Super Bowl?
It was a good game. It was a lot of fun.
Did you have a favorite, or was anyone?
I ended up rooting for the Seahawks because they are the only NFL team that plays its home games in Washington.
Very nice.
Okay? Great. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Nice to see everybody.